Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Monday Mashup, the flagship show on the upper tier over there on YouTube. Head over there, drop a subscribe, and hit that bell notification button to be notified whenever we drop new content. Joining me tonight for the show, plenty to get through and talk about. Mark, how are we? Our resident referee.
How's it going, lads? Thanks for having me on again.
No complaints about the refereeing over the weekend for sure, but we will get into some conversation. Darren, how are we?
I'm all right, Niall. How are you?
It's not too bad at all. It was a good. I had a good weekend now. In fairness, as you do.
Bet you did, yeah.
Yeah, so you did all right.
Anyway, let's begin. Let's have a quick rundown through the FA Cup results. And nowhere else to start for you two boys, but Friday night, 1-1 against Middlesbrough, going out on penalties. Elanga unlucky with the last penalty, not to pin it on that boy at all. Bravery to step up and take it under those circumstances, especially with some seasoned veterans still standing on the pitch who could have stepped up, but they sent the boy forward. So no blame on his shoulders at all, and fair play to him. Mark.
Yeah, for me, the game should have been out of sight in the first half. The amount of chances we had, obviously Sancho hitting the bar and then he scored with the deflection. Second half, yeah, Middlesbrough, listen, they rode their luck. They took their chance. They kept in the game, so you have to applaud them for that. I got a good few people texting me about the handball, but for me, he didn't control the ball with his hand. It bounced up and hit off his hand. And the law states that if that happens, if it's an accidental handball or he hasn't controlled the ball with his hand and he passes it on and someone scores, it's a goal. But if he actually scores from that, it's disallowed, which I don't agree with. It's either one or the other. It can't be, do you know what I mean? You can't have one rule for one and one for another. It has to be the same. And I can see where people were getting confused. Some of the former players were straight on Twitter and stuff like that saying, "Oh, it was a definite handball." But in the words I like to use, in the opinion of the referee, it was an accidental handball, which is obviously the main thing. So,
which is the only opinion that matters at the end of the day.
That's it. But it's one of those grey areas again where this law was only changed like 12 months ago. So not a lot of people know about it. And it's, again, like I say, it's one of these grey areas that it confuses fans and ex-players and current players, because you obviously see Maguire and the rest of them running over to the referee claiming it was a handball. But unfortunately for us, it wasn't.
Darren?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I think when you make a decision subjective, that's where you're going to have problems. It's got to be black or white, and it's not. And that's where confusion's gonna rule, basically. Again, this game should have been dead and buried by the time Middlesbrough got their goal. Yeah. We'd more than enough chances to win 2 or 3 games. Bruno, obviously Sancho hitting the bar, Ronaldo missing the penalty. There was attempts on target with headers, Rashford, McTominay. There was so many opportunities for this game to be dead and buried. And this has been a problem with United of recent times. I don't know whether if it's a lack of confidence or not, because we seem to be creating the chances. They just don't seem to be, putting the ball in the actual back of the net. It could be a confidence thing, but I think, as a whole, I can't really complain about the performance other than failing to score. Like, we didn't go out, we weren't battered, they did score with one of their very few attacks in the game, and we controlled the game. Ralph talks about controlling the game. We controlled the game, and if the guys take chances, by half time he's able to make a couple of changes there, because there's no way Middlesbrough are getting into the game at 3 down at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I think they were saying in 90 minutes Middlesbrough had 2 real attacks, if you like, scored off one of them and missed with the other one, but United had so many chances.
Sure, it was like that the weekend. Middlesbrough were playing Coventry last weekend. Coventry absolutely dominated the first half, didn't score. Middlesbrough scored early in the second half and just kept a 1-0 lead. Saw the game out, and that was it,
Yeah,
interesting. All right, we will talk about Man United later in the show. So I think there's
do
a
we
lot
have to?
Well, I think
it's not like it.
Well, you guys will talk about it. I'll give a flavour of an opinion, but I think some of the things we talk about later on the show. No, I think some of the things we talk about later on the show might allude to what Darren's talking about there. That there's a little bit of upheaval, confidence, and all that kind of stuff going on at the moment. When we look at Chelsea 2-1 against Plymouth Argyle, they kind of struggled, made hard work of this. More the likes of Lukaku and that just not doing the business at all. And then they headed off, as we know, to the FIFA World Club Cup, but made hard work of it. Same with West Ham, last ditch goal to keep them in it, and then running out winners 2-1 against Kidderminster Harriers. Declan Rice getting the equaliser at the death. Have to say his celebration was brilliant. I was not saying that's Michael Jackson celebration that he does. It's absolutely quality, and the fans were loving it.
That's why we're doing that in the courts now the next few weeks.
That's it, yeah. Palace 2-0 against Hartlepool again. Struggled really, against this opposition. Darren, Huddersfield beat Barnsley 1-0. We did call it. We didn't necessarily think it might be this tight. You had mentioned that you thought it might be a little bit tighter than I thought, but 1-0. Peterborough beating QPR 2-0 was an interesting result in it. Yeah. And Southampton running out 2-1 winners against Coventry. Again, making tough work of it at times. Everton 4-1 against Brentford, which was one of few results at the weekend where a team didn't look like rusty as hell from the 2-week break. Stoke beat Wigan 2-0. City ran out 4-1 winners against Fulham. The boy Carvalho that Liverpool are planning on signing got his goal, looked really, really good, even though he lost 4-1. One of the shocks for me was Norwich beating Wolves, going down to Norwich 1-0. I thought Wolves would have given a better account of themselves. I didn't expect Norwich to pick that one up. And Cambridge losing at home to Luton 3-0. Tottenham winning 3-1 against Brighton, which again I thought Brighton would have given a better account of themselves. And then we went into Sunday, Liverpool 3-1 against Cardiff. Harvey Elliott back getting a banger of a goal. Diaz with an assist. Minamino with a goal, and Jota, of course, with a goal. Great ball in from Trent. Lovely header to start the scoring off.
Did you see the video, Niall, of Harvey Elliott's dad?
I did, yeah.
Crowd? It was very good.
Brilliant, yeah. Really, really good, yeah. But again, Liverpool, flattered to deceive in the first half, made hard work of it and had to come out in the second half and put on the show.
I thought you were lucky. I thought that was a penalty. I was talking to one of the lads yesterday. If it's outside the box, it's a free kick. And he said, it would have been a soft penalty. I said, there's no soft penalties. It's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. He
did go down very easy, though, didn't he? But I could see if it was given, why it would be given. Yeah. What did you make of Kelleher?
Personally, I thought it was a red card, and not because he was denying a goal scoring opportunity. I thought it was a dangerous tackle. He wasn't in control of the tackle.
He was quite high, wasn't he?
And then they were saying about being, denying a goal scoring opportunity. The way the player flicked it by him, it was like it was going into the corner. So I wouldn't have given the red for that. For me, it was a dangerous challenge. So that's why I would have given the red card.
Cool. Forest slapping up Rodgers again, 4-1. The holders going out. Really bad result. But me and Darren called it on the preview. We said that we really fancied Forest to do this, that Leicester in such indifferent form at the moment. Rodgers under pressure there, calling out players and all in public and stuff like that. Not a good place to be.
Big shout out to the kid. I've mentioned him 3 or 4 times the last few weeks, Brennan Johnson. At Forest is going to be a baller. Got in the score sheet. There's a lot of Premier League sharks circling, not Forest here. This kid won't be there any longer than the summer. He'll be 15 million all day long. Another one of those championship bargains. He'll go to a side of Palace, West Ham and Newcastle, and he'll be a very, very good footballer, this kid.
And Dazzler, our mate James Garner, another fantastic performance from him again.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was very, very good. He's talking about they're talking about him coming back next season and possibly getting a foothold in the squad. He's had 2 good years in that championship to kind of to battle harden himself a little bit, isn't he? And he's got so much quality on the ball.
Yeah.
And against 2 Premier League sides, Arsenal and Leicester, didn't look out of place at all. Looked very good. And then we finished it out then with Bournemouth 0, Boreham Wood 1. One of the big upsets of the weekend. But a great result. So we went into the fifth round draw, and Darren, we won't dwell on it too much because we'll be doing a preview for the fifth round draw anyway. As hard as it'll be on you, Darren, now that you don't have a card in the game, but we'll still put out a preview, no doubt about it. So we start off Luton.
I'm going to be a Forest fan for the rest of it.
That's okay. Jimmy Garner on the jersey. So we start off Luton versus Chelsea, Palace versus Stoke, Peterborough United, the mighty Peterborough United versus Man City, Liverpool versus Norwich, Southampton versus West Ham, Middlesbrough versus Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, who no one will want to draw at the moment, versus Huddersfield, and Everton versus the great Boreham Wood. Interesting draw all the same. I mean,
did you see the Boreham Wood chairman?
Yes.
yeah, brilliant.
Del boy with a beard, right?
Yeah. This is the romance of the cup, isn't it? This is when we talk about the romance of the cup. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
the day after they got through the last round, he was interviewed quite early on Sky Sports, and he was standing on the pitch with the manager, and he was clutching a cup of coffee, very hard, and I just looked and thought, this guy's been absolutely up all night.
Yeah.
And again, the shakes and everything, the sweat standing there, and I just thought, this is what you want to see.
Yeah. I'd say if you were standing close to him, you could smell the whiskey off the sweat, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
But it was brilliant. It really was, you know.
And it's great they're off to Goodison for a payday as well, so it's awesome. Isn't it?
Shame they don't get to go to a decent ground, don't it?
Look, every ticket sells at a price, regardless of what the ground looks like.
They might switch it to Accrington Stanley's ground just for that game.
Over the Tranmere.
Probably in better condition in Goodison.
It is too right.
Listen,
I was just going to say, did you see the picture even of Kidderminster Harriers manager having a drink with David Moyes after his class, isn't it? Like, brilliant. Like that, they're the type of scenes you like to see in the FA Cup, and that's the magic of it, isn't it?
I don't know whether that drink would have happened if that Declan Rice goal hadn't have happened. Though, might have been a different story.
He would have been on his own.
I think with Moisey, win, lose or draw, he'd have been in there.
Yeah, he's a decent.
I'd say so. Yeah, absolutely.
He is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's get into the hot topics then, and let's start. Now, let's get this one out of the way. Don't be that. Look. These are topics that have to be spoken about just because you're wearing the red and black.
Let's get the elephant out of the room, Niall. You don't like Man United. Big shock. Come on, let's hear it.
That's not the case at all. Listen,
let's go.
It's self-inflicted what's going on there at the moment. Don't pin this on me.
Welcome to the ABU sessions.
Right. So the first hot topic I have is Man United, a total mess, and it's a discussionary topic. Some stuff been coming out this week, obviously. The stuff with Lingard, and this stuff with John Murtaugh, getting involved in that Lingard situation and kind of not reflecting well on Ralph. Being a little bit exposed in terms of, let's say that the puzzle pieces aren't really matching the jigsaw at the moment. Then, of course, there's been a lot of upheaval. Of course, we're not going to get into obviously the Mason Greenwood situation, but it has caused a bit of a rift there in terms of supporting and not supporting and what might happen, and lads unfollowing and then refollowing, and information that might come out. And the talk is that I think he has till this day week, isn't it? Next Monday. And then they have to make a decision in terms of inserting him back in the squad or taking him out of the situation. And we hear today that Nike have dropped the contract officially now, not just suspended it. But there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment, isn't there? And there's a lot of rift and a lot of talk and just a lot of upheaval for him to deal with, lads, isn't there?
I don't think so.
No?
I think, listen, you've got the Greenwood thing. Absolutely. I think after that, you're always going to have players who aren't happy when they're not playing games. I think it's how you manage that situation. I think the situation is going to get easier at United because the pool isn't so big now. I think Ralph's obviously decided who he wants to be part of the squad and who he doesn't want to have part of the squad. And the line has been drawn now. So if you're in the squad, well and good. If you're not, you're at Everton or you're at, Notts Forest or wherever you are. So, this stems back from the result on Friday night. if United go ahead and steamroll Middlesbrough on Friday night, do we even mention this?
A lot of the talk goes away, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. So, and when we talk about it, like, again, we did steamroll Middlesbrough. The only thing that didn't happen was we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. So, like, I've got to say, I think it's a lot to do about nothing, if I'm honest. I think the performance was good on Friday night. We didn't score the goals we needed to get over the game. And obviously, when you lose a game at home to a team that's lower down, but don't forget, we've lost games like that in the past. We've been beaten by Derby on penalties. We've been beaten by Middlesbrough. We've been knocked out by Leeds. York City have tumbled us over. So we've had days like that. United aren't always at their very best in cup competitions, especially in the domestic ones. Yes, we won a lot of cup competitions, but at times they use it as a, as almost like a practice game, that they're getting fellas minutes on the pitch and they're getting guys games who need games, rather than going out and putting their best 11 out and trying to win the game. And although it was a very good team we had out on Friday night, that's certainly not the excuse from this end. I mean, there was more than enough out there in the pitch to turn Middlesbrough over. You don't take your chances, and all of a sudden, somebody's got to win. Now, if that's a league game and it's a draw, again, you don't have as much talk about it. But because obviously the game goes to extra time, and then you go to the lottery of penalties, anyone can lose to anybody playing penalties. That's just the way. That's the nature of the beast, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm certainly not worried about what's going on at the minute. With the issue with Greenwood, that has to be resolved. I mean, looking at the squad and the way it is for the rest of the season, I'm happy enough to say, we've got an opportunity here to maybe go a stage or two further at Europe and see how things progress. And we've still got to, we still have our hat in the ring for this top 4 position, which is very, very important for us. After that, it'll all be about trying to get the right man in for the job and making the changes that we need to make in the summer from a personnel point of view.
Yeah, I still think, though, getting that right man in from the job, I think it would have been important to potentially maybe, I'm not saying you would have gone on and won the FA Cup potentially, but you could. And I think it would have been important in terms of going into next season, in terms of the transfer window and bringing in the right manager. It might be a little bit easier if you went in having a bit of silverware. But I do think, Mark, it is kind of a little bit weird, isn't it, when you think about the players that have been moved out, left you like a little bit exposed, and then you're going into a cup game. And like you have Cavani turning around going, I'd like 4 days off. You have Lingard, where you have a guy above Ranić turning around and going, oh, he needs time off for his headspace. You've got Ranić turning around going, I wanted him to go. Then the board wouldn't let him go. Then the board are giving him time off. I didn't sanction time off. But yeah, he had to go with the story. And then Lingard comes out and goes, I don't need any time off my headspace. I'm ready to play for Man United. So it has to be a little bit disabling when you have this kind of stuff coming out.
Yeah, well, firstly, that wouldn't have never happened under Sir Alex Ferguson. But I can actually, from a Lingard point of view, I can see where his frustrations are. Obviously, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, Ralph had sat down in his office, said, right, we're going to send you out on loan. Then what unfolded with Mason Greenwood, it didn't happen. So he's told, listen, you're staying here. We're not going to be sending you out. And then the first match after the window closes, he's not involved in the squad. So he wanted to leave to get minutes. He's told, no, you're going to stay here. Like, there's an ideal thing on Friday night against Middlesbrough. When Mata comes on, Jesse Lingard would have came on at that stage. Do you know what I mean? Or even before that. So there is, like, that was a bit of a debacle. But, like, listen, stuff like that happens at football clubs, not just Manchester United. The whole Cavani thing, yeah, listen, he was playing over in South America. And then I'm hearing today, I don't know how true or not it is, Tellez and Fred have COVID or something like that, do they? Yeah. So, yeah. But again, listen, this happens to every team, so it's not just us. So, but it just seems like it's more of an issue because of what's, like Darren said, because we were beaten on Friday night. But I can see it's going to be a tough game against Burnley tomorrow night, but you'd be hoping that you'll see a bit of fight, a bit of grit, and hopefully we can get 3 points in and kind of shut the reporters and everyone else up, you know.
Yeah, it's a vital game, absolute vital game. And especially when you're looking, I mean, like a front line of Ronaldo, Cavani and Mohamed, that's 104 apparently is the combined age. You know, that's Zimmer frame FC kind of stuff, really. You know,
it's like this panel here.
Yeah, yeah. Darren will probably say more of what's above him than below him. Who knows? We spoke about Leicester already crashing out of the cup, and Rodgers obviously coming out under pressure, and you know, targeting the players in public and stuff like that, going on about performances and stuff like that. Well, he didn't name individual players, but he said he went in hard on the players in terms of effort and commitment and all this kind of stuff. And he's really getting to a stage now. I wonder, is it getting really, really close to him moving at this stage? I think he really believes at this stage he has taken it as far as he can take Leicester. Darren, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like everything looked rosy in the garden, didn't it? They obviously picked up the FA Cup last year, fell away just towards the end and just missed out on the Champions League spots. Couple of good signings in the summer, and I think everything kind of hasn't just bedded in for him yet this year. He hasn't found the blend between new and old, but I think that's not unheard of. Like, you know, we've seen it at times where players have come in and they've needed a season or so to kind of get up to speed and stuff like that. I still think the boy Fofana is a massive miss for them at the back. You know, he was an ever present. He was their rock at the back, really, wasn't he? Alongside Johnny Evans, and Johnny absolutely looks a year older at this stage, doesn't he? Not having those young legs beside him. He's had a couple of different partners. They've tried. Even the boy Daniel Amartey, who's a centre midfielder, has played centre half quite a few times. And I mean, the guy is putting in a bit of effort, but he's not a centre back. His positional sense is awful. He's not big enough to win headers. Like, it's awkward looking. It's a square peg in a round hole. They bought the boy Vestergaard, and then it looks like he bought him and went, "You're not what I bought." It's like, you know, I bought something and you're not it. I bought from Wish and I got, you know, Vestergaard's shadow or something, because they paid like decent money for him. And he hasn't had the run in the team. Soyuncu, and it's all coming through that kind of that soft centre at the back, isn't it? And the spine of the team doesn't seem to have the solidity that it has over the last few years. Even, you know, somebody that we mentioned before is a really, really big player for Leicester, Wilfred Ndidi. He hasn't been himself this year between injuries and COVID and AFCON, you know, so he found it hard to get a run of games in the team. I think Leicester, to be honest with you, need to get bodies on the pitch and get a run of games without kind of chopping and changing too much. You know, like there's some very, very good footballers there. I think week to week, I don't actually have a Leicester player in my fantasy football team because they've done that much change in this season. You don't know who's going to play. That's going to affect performances. You know, it really, really is. And I think they need to get bodies on the pitch and start churning out the same team for 5-6 games. And let's start seeing them build, you know, because we know they can. We know Rodgers is a good manager, and we know what they have in the squad. You know, there's quality there.
Yeah. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Darren. I just think they've been unlucky with injuries. They haven't got a run of the same 11 to play, which is vital, is absolutely vital in the season to do that. And because of that, I don't think Vardy has hit form. When Vardy doesn't, you're missing a good 20 goals a season out of him. I know Iniacho's come in and Daka scored as well, but you need Vardy because he's been on the bench a good few times, but you need him fully confident, scoring goals. And like Darren was saying, it comes from the back as well. But then you look at it as well thinking, right, are they kind of a victim of their own success? Because people think they should be at a certain level and they're not. And maybe this is their level, you know, that's a way. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but
I think to a point, but I think he's been supported heavily there, hasn't he? And he's been given the money to bring in players and stuff like that.
And he'll always, because they're good owners. They are good owners.
And I accept Darren's point about the upheaval at the back, and you know, Evans went out injured, Soyuncu went out injured, losing Fofana and stuff like that and all. I think they're big players for them, And as you said, sometimes when they come back off those injuries, they don't come back necessarily the player that they are. Because I know looking at Soyuncu, who I would have regarded as a really good defender, has come back, and at times he has looked absolutely abysmal. But even the talk, like the likes of Tielemans coming out and talking about how he wants out and he's not happy and all. And I'm sure Vardy as well isn't happy being involved. I mean, he's been Mr. Leicester for how many years at this stage? And now he's being rotated, which I'm sure he's probably not happy about at all, without being vocal about it, because I know he gets on with it as a professional. But I'm sure if Rodgers does leave, I'm sure there'll be lads coming out and talking, saying, you know, why would you be rotating Jamie Vardy? It's not like when he's playing, he looks tired. Now, maybe he's aging a little bit in terms of the Premier League and that kind of thing. But, he's still going to crop up. He's going to get you a goal. You know what I mean? He's that player, But remains to be seen, but I think it's...
He is, but you've got to prepare for life after Jamie Vardy as well. And what you don't want is, you don't want to have Jamie Vardy going down a slippery slope, you cutting the apron strings and having nothing to come behind because you didn't manage the blood players and get them into the team early enough and get them game time with the players around them. Like the boy Patson Daka at times has looked unbelievable, as has Garnacho.
But Patson Daka, he's not a Jamie Vardy type player in terms of the way Leicester plays. He's a very different player, isn't he?
No, he's not very, very different, I wouldn't have said. Like, he likes to play on the shoulder the way Vardy does. Do you know what I mean? I think he's obviously younger, he's got legs in him. Technically, for me, I would say he's better than Vardy. As I would Garnacho. But maybe they're not at the level of, nous and know-how. I think Vardy's he's just got so much under his belt.
Clever.
He's clever. And I think, again, that's something that guys are going to be looking at in training sessions and thinking, Jesus, this guy's just able to churn these out, and maybe it's not something that they can do just yet. But I think it's not a bad thing what he's trying to do. I mean, if Vardy was out of the team for any time, who would they go to? So they've got to make sure that the lads are able to play in this system. They're up to a level of standard and performance before that happens, and I can't really fault Rodgers for that. And you've got the fact that they were fighting on, an extra front this year with Europe.
Yeah, like Mark said, maybe you're a victim of your own success, and maybe you're not built for that.
Always say, for the likes of a West Ham, a Leicester, a Wolves, they'd be better off missing out on the Thursday nights.
Yeah. Because
the upheaval it brings them in their league performances and the added depth that's needed in a squad,
It guides us every week on our Beat the Bookie shows. We do the Beat the Bookie shows. We talk about it every week.
I mean, if two no-hopers like me and you can see this happening, what's it got to, what do clubs see here? Like the step from league to Europa League and then from Europa League to Champions League, it's monumental. It really is. And you've seen good football teams go into Champions League and just not have that European style. And maybe the pace of play was different and they're gassing out early and they're being picked off by better tactical teams. Like, you've got to be really, really clever about this. And I just think at times teams want too much too soon. And I think, as Mark said, they're a victim of their own success.
Yeah. Interesting. AFCON finished. Final. Senegal run out winners. Darren, we did say we expected a little bit more out of the final, but God, it was again a tough watch, wasn't it, really?
I may have lost a substantial amount of money on the game last night.
Oh.
I backed Senegal to win the game. And I put a little...
And should have.
And I mean, I watched the game and obviously my missus knew there was something going wrong because of all the noise I was making from the back room. And she wanted to know why those things were getting smashed. And I just had to say, and when she came in, she says, everything all right? I said, no. I said, this fucking Egyptian goalkeeper's man of the match. I said, like, this isn't supposed to happen. And he was very, very good. But I mean, if you're Senegal, that game should be, again, over at half time. Many chances.
The gulf and talent throughout both teams was unbelievable, really, wasn't it? But when you look at the Egyptian side, it was really the goalkeeper. For our Arsenal viewers, I'm going to put El Neni in there and then Mo Salah. And that's really it. Like, there isn't a whole lot else there, really. No disrespect to them. But Mo Salah, at the end of the tournament last night, I know he was distraught, obviously, at not winning and stuff like that. But he looked absolutely knackered, like he had the month from hell. On the flip side, Senegal
playing on those pitches, I'd imagine the one from hell.
Yeah.
I'd say their muscles are in shreds.
It's like going back 30 years playing on them pitches, isn't it? Like,
and they were so heavy in spots. You know, I've seen lads doing knee slides, and the turf was hacking up in front of them, and you're just thinking, what must that be like to run on?
It was like some lad running along with a rotavator and the muck coming up out of it and stuff like that. I thought when they were doing the knee slides, they weren't going to stop until they hit the car park. Yeah, but Senegal obviously with a lot of quality in their side. I mean, sprinkled with Premier League quality. But I noticed, with the exception of one player last night, all the other players are playing at high level leagues throughout Europe and stuff like that. And it kind of, I know it went to a penalty shootout, and I know, as we know, a penalty is a lottery shootout, really. But I think on the face of it, and obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, but I think the right team won the tournament in terms of Senegal. First time winning it, obviously. Yeah. And then a little bit of controversy today where they put a few Liverpool fans' noses out of joint. I don't know why. I don't know why they feed into it. But Mane came out and said his biggest achievement in football was winning the AFCON. And Liverpool fans got a little bit upset today, going, "You won a Champions League and a Premier League with us. What are you talking about?" But this is historic for those guys. We don't understand. We're not from Senegal or Egypt or Africa. So we can't understand what this means to these guys. You know what I mean?
And it's not like Liverpool fans to give out about something, is it? Sorry, go ahead, Darren.
No, and I would imagine when you're a kid in Senegal, whether you're going to play for Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, that's a means to an end for you. You know, lifting those trophies are wonderful, but I think, you know, when they haven't lifted an AFCON before, to go down as the first team to lift it, to score the winning penalty, you know, I would absolutely expect them to turn around and say it's the biggest achievement he has in football. And I don't think it would have been a snide on Liverpool. I just think that's the way he would have felt about it, you know. I think if he'd have been, you know, if things hadn't have gone that way, he'd been playing still with Southampton or you know, headed to Holland or Belgium or somewhere like that, and he was still a very, very good player, he'd still regard us. So it's nothing on what he's done at Liverpool. It's just, this was big for his country.
Yeah, and you know what the country means to him. You probably know yourself now the amount of money Mane pumps into the country, building hospitals, doing this and the other. And then you see the scenes on Sky Sports News of the bus arriving and thousands are there. And I thought it was brilliant, like, you know. Yeah. So I
wasn't for him in Akon, he wouldn't even have a hospital.
Well, I turned around today to Liverpool fans on Twitter and I said, you know what, you should be bigging him up about this, what he's saying, because we want Mane to come back really happy, really positive, raring to go for the final stretch in the season. We don't want him coming back thinking we're not happy at what he said about trophies. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like Liverpool can put an AFCON trophy into their trophy cabinet anyway, so it doesn't make any difference really. But I thought it was fitting that Senegal won. I think if Egypt had won, I wouldn't necessarily have been overly upset because of Mo Salah, but I think it might have been a robbery.
90 minutes.
Huh?
Would have been great if they'd have won in 90 minutes.
You're just saying. Obviously, Chelsea are off to the FIFA World Club Cup, being hosted in the UAE. I think they're in action on Wednesday, as far as now. I did a preview show with Ian last night on it, so if you want to go over there and check that out, it's up there on the channel.
On E4, isn't it, the match?
Which?
It's on E4. I've seen an ad for it on E4.
I haven't got a clue.
The World Club.
It could be, yeah. It could be.
But that was weird.
It's this. The interesting thing is, like, they bring 7 teams.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a contrived draw and everything and all. You know what I mean? So it's a bit weird. Who brings 7 teams to a tournament? Why not 8?
It's not like
who can fuck this stuff up.
Yeah. It's not like FIFA to be organising these things.
Well, they should have just brought City. If they needed an extra team, just bring City, who were the runners up or something. You know what I mean? Who knows? Little bit more distaste today coming out, boys, from former Arsenal star Mark Overmars, who's regarded as one of the best directors of football around Europe at the moment. Quit his Ajax role today after sending inappropriate messages to women, as reported by Football London today. More and more of this stuff seems to be coming out, doesn't it? And obviously, when you open up the gates of this stuff, more and more we're hearing about stuff about Avram Grant and various people like that. And it's just, you know, the Mendy situation at City, and you know, I know Basuma at the moment as well has stuff hanging over him that has to be resolved and all. And it's just there's more and more of this stuff sort of coming out, isn't it? Leaves a bit of a bad taste, really, doesn't it?
I will say, any hackers out there, please don't go on to the upper tier WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Because you'd be wasting your time.
You know, I
never say inappropriate things on our WhatsApp groups. Never.
But I thought there was an interesting dynamic to this insofar as he was allowed quit his role at Ajax, and they sort of sent him off saying thank you for your service, kind of thing, and all this kind of thing. So he wasn't you know, brought up onto the gallows or anything like that.
Let's have an unpopular opinion tonight with Darren.
Yeah.
So my unpopular opinion is stuff like this has a shelf life and it goes through cycles. And unfortunately for Mark Overmars, he's been caught in this cycle that we're going through now. I think if it was 10 years ago, he'd still be in his job. I think in 10 years to come, he'd probably still be in his job. But unfortunately, with the way things are at the minute and the environment and obviously the things that have gone on and we know have gone on, not just in football, but in the world.
Worldwide, yeah, of course.
Worldwide and stuff like that. And obviously that's added to this. And anytime anybody makes any kind of a false move or step here, you're going to be removed straight away. You know, you've got to be removed. Because brands, clubs, associations can't have the publicity that's tied to somebody who may be linked to. And that's just, you know what I mean? I think this will all come full circle and we'll probably find ourselves somewhere in the middle of where things are at the minute, that it's not overly sensitive, but we are being sensitive enough to people's needs and to their feelings and stuff like that. But I just think at the minute it's a minefield for anyone involved in any kind of clubs and associations and things like that, you know, and even in day-to-day business, it's very, very difficult for people, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on then. Chelsea could sell Kante to go into battle with Man United to sign Declan Rice for 100 million. Football 365 was reporting this today. I was looking at this today, and I know we've already spoke about Declan Rice and stuff like that. And I think 100 million is just outrageous. I think it's absolutely outrageous. But I was looking at this today, and I was thinking, United could stay in this for a little while, let Chelsea blow their load on Declan Rice, and just swoop in there, and United could take Kante. And I was thinking, that'd be kind of cool. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be too upset with that at all. You know what I mean? But I think if Chelsea come in for Declan Rice, I mean, what you thinking on this? He'd probably go to Chelsea, wouldn't he? Or do you think he would go to United?
If I was a Chelsea fan, before I even think about selling Kante and getting Rice in, there's loads of other things you have to do. Sell Barkley, sell Drinkwater, send Saul back to bleeding Spain on the plane, sort out the Conor Gallagher situation. He's playing fantastic for Palace. Like, look, you can't loan him out again. You have to bring him into the squad, familiarise himself with the players around him. This is before you do that.
And also Lukaku and Werner.
Yeah, exactly. You have to sort out all these situations.
Italian restaurant in London to bar Romelu Lukaku.
Say again?
Get every Italian restaurant to bar Romelu Lukaku and get him a year's subscription to Slimming World.
Italian restaurants are not the issue, Darren. It's the chippers. It's not the Italian restaurant.
The Italian chippers. But that's what I'd be doing before I even book. Like Kante, he's probably still the best player in that position not only in the league but probably in Europe. He's still 30. He plays like he's 20. He has an engine on him like no other. It's a big risk selling him. Like, if they are, I can't see him going to another Premier League team. As much as I'd love to have him on our team, I can't see it happening.
He's also a branding dream, isn't he? In terms of brands and stuff like that, he's a great guy to have out there in terms of branding and stuff like that. And
listen, off the pitch, he just gets his head down, he gets on with business, and that's it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. will remain. It'll be interesting to see how it all evolves anyway. But it looks like
I'd be more than happy for United to absolutely blow their load on Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he's only what age is he?
23?
23, yeah. So
He's about
listen,
23.
I think in the long term, and you see figures being bandied about nowadays, I think 100 million be a shrewd bit of business from our point of view.
Here's another unpopular opinion. Man United signing Declan Rice for a British transfer record could be the equivalent of Man United signing Roy Keane for a British transfer record. That's how big it could be.
Except Roy Keane went into Man United surrounded by talent.
Oh.
And that's another unpopular opinion. There you go. Just to top those ones off. Huh?
There's no talent in the United squad.
I'm talking midfield here. Void in midfield.
Squads.
Huh?
No. Who did he go in alongside?
Well, you've McTominay there, you've Fred there.
No, but who did Keane go in alongside?
When he went in first?
Yeah.
Sure, he was in. Wasn't he in beside Robson and all at one stage?
No, we took Robson's
He was
place
injured.
with Paul Ince.
Here, well, you're in decent company there, aren't you?
And then he got turfed out.
United fans will give their right hand for a Paul Ince back there again.
He played for a few lower league teams, didn't he? Towards the end.
Ince?
Yeah.
So doesn't that happen with all players?
Inter Milan and then someone else.
We're going to see a few of them playing out in Manu shortly, aren't we?
We'll get Paul Ince for that, the governor.
Absolutely. Liverpool. Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher came out today saying that it was madness that Mo Salah didn't step up and take that penalty for Egypt. I think he was carded as doing the fifth penalty, but he never got to take it. And Carragher was making the point that maybe with the two boys missing, Mo should have been the guy who stood up and took that next penalty, not left it to the other guy who missed. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think you'd have to not be a glory hunter for that, wouldn't you? And be doing something for the good of the team rather than for the good of your market, your branding department. He was absolutely the same way Manny came up for the fifth one. The boys have set this up to win the AFCON for their nation. So there's an awful lot of this playing into their egos. Yeah. You know, as good as the two lads are. And I wholeheartedly agree with what you said earlier on, by the way, with Anthony Elanga. You know, they're seasoned professionals and veterans on that pitch at United. And you've a kid going up now. Yes, we're at number 7. And, you know, if you count the goalkeeper, that's 8. And you've only maybe 3 other outfield players. 3 other outfield players, like, where was Varane? You know what I mean? What about Luke Shaw? You know, like, there was lads there to take that. And they all said, no, you know what, we'll let this kid go. And I don't like that. I didn't like it in the summer with England. And I don't like it at United. And I don't like it at Egypt or at Senegal, you know. Good season pros need to be taking the bull by the horns here. Salah had an opportunity to step up and nail that home when the keeper made the first save, you know what I mean? Or when he made the save to get them back into it, sorry. And he didn't, you know, and that's ultimately what cost him. And all of a sudden you go where your best player didn't get to take a penalty. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, it is. It's madness, isn't it? But how many times have we seen it over the years, Darren? Niall, you know, these players with egos. Ronaldo used to love taking the fifth penalty. Even remember John Terry in the 2008 final. He wanted to be the man to win it for the first time for Chelsea.
Pulled up his arm, man.
Yeah, everything.
Take it.
But I thought, like, I remember playing for Wayside, and in penalties, we'd always have our penalty taker take the third penalty. Because that could be the make or break penalty after, you know what I mean?
Once you're in the middle of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I think it's an ego thing, and it bit him in the arse in the end. And
good show by Carragher, yeah, all round.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta say, he's a terrific pundit.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo today became the first person to hit over 400 million followers on Instagram. That's unbelievable, isn't it? Only tops us.
He ain't beating us on TikTok, baby.
I say he's murdering us on TikTok.
But lads, I'm out of
400
this
million.
conversation. I'm not on anything like that. I'm still on Bebo, so you go ahead.
I wonder how many he has on Bebo. Probably millions, I'd say, as well.
I shared me love with him today. He hasn't got back to me.
That's something else, though, isn't it? 400 million followers on Instagram. Every time he posts something on Instagram, that's hitting 400 million people. That's incredible. Like, I just thought I'd mention it today. It's absolutely insane.
How easy though would it be for him, you know, to push something, no matter what it is. Like, even if you're thinking about politically, for him to back a candidate in a race with 400 million, you know, it's a game changer. It really is. And I don't think we'll see that until he actually steps off the pitch.
Yeah.
And then we'll see it unfold and what way he'll use the pull that he has, you know.
Kind of like what we've seen with Beckham.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of, but at a much better, like,
absolutely
crazy level.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you been watching the Netflix? Did you watch the Netflix one on him with what's it, the Georgia one? Is that or something like that? With the yeah. It's
no, I've seen the trailer for it, but I haven't watched any of it yet. It's supposed to be okay.
Yeah, it's mad. Her story is so interesting. How he pulled up outside the shop and all. I think she was working in a Gucci store or something like that. But
she was working in the Gucci store when they met.
Yeah.
She used to get the bus to work, and he'd pick her up in the Bugatti after work.
Yeah.
It beats my story of meeting Yvonne outside Barcode.
Sober.
Well, there's a branding thing for you, Niall. Send Ronaldo an upper tier mug and he'll stick it on Instagram to 400 million.
Well, yeah, when I send him a 2 million quid check to go with it, probably with it. Absolutely. Hit us up with those super chats. We need investment. Let's touch on Wayne Rooney, lads, the guy who was behind Darren there. His Amazon Prime documentary is coming out starting on Friday, which should be interesting. But there's some interesting stuff has been coming out on it, where he spoke about, you know, he was battling binge drinking and all because of the pressures of his playing career and stuff like that. Which is, some of this is not stuff that we don't know already. We know with Wayne, he's at times he has gone off the rails, at times in terms of drinking and food and stuff like that. At times he's been absolutely unbelievable as a footballer.
What's going to tell us next? He was shagging grannies. Like, come on, Wayne, give over, will you?
Hey, if it's not in there, if it's not in there, I'd be shocked. But listen, it should be a brilliant watch, in fairness. Because some of this stuff they've done between Netflix and Amazon Prime, they've been really, really good stuff, you know what I mean? So don't forget, especially you United fans, check that out Friday night. It should be excellent.
He's doing a phenomenal job at Derby.
Absolutely.
He really is. You know, as much as we're having a bit of a giggle and stuff like that, I can only imagine, you know, when you finish your playing career and you feel that kind of emptiness, he needed to throw himself into something. And if the reports are to be believed, you know, he's sleeping in the office some nights in a bid to get things the way he wants it. He's watching hours of tape and he wants to be the first in the morning and he's the last one to leave. And, you know, he's been putting his personal wealth into buying stuff at the club level and stuff like that. Like, that's really throwing yourself in. That's pouring yourself into your job. But you don't do that unless you absolutely love it. And maybe he sees this as, you know, not to be cliche about it, but this is his second opportunity of football, because football is obviously finished for him with his feet. And now he gets to go and kind of pit himself in the world of management. And, you know, you've got to say, fair play to him so far. Yeah. He's done a terrific job. I think if he keeps Derby County in the championship this year, he'll get manager of the year in that championship.
Absolutely.
He really will.
You know? The only headache now, did you see the rumours coming out today? Mike Ashley is interested in buying them. So
that's the talk on around, all right. Yeah, but he's doing a magnificent job. And I suppose his background, of course, being such a street footballer and stuff like that, he really knows nothing else except football. So it's his way of giving back as well. He says, here's a club that's struggling that I can kind of help out. And I know Peter Crouch has been doing his documentaries out there, The Beautiful Game or something like that, where he went into a club and trying to help them out and stuff like that. No, so it's really nice to see these guys giving back to the sport as well. And especially as you said, I mean, he's putting his hand in his own pocket to keep things going there afloat at times, you know. So fair play to him, hats off to him and stuff like that. Broke my heart a few times, but he won't dwell on that. He's doing well at Derby. Lads, I wanted to finish off the show tonight with a bit of kind of a dedication on the show and stuff like that. As you know, yesterday it was the anniversary of the Munich air disaster. So I'd like to say just all our thoughts are obviously with the families and stuff that were affected by that. I know at this time of year it must be really, really difficult for them. And also for you guys and the history of your club and stuff like that. So from myself over here on the upper tier, and obviously for you guys as well, we'd obviously send our thoughts and stuff over there to those people who were affected by it and stuff like that. So I said I'd bring it up at the end of the show there, and it's something I didn't put on the listing that you guys didn't know about, but I wanted to include it because obviously we didn't do a show yesterday, and I thought it'd be appropriate to bring it up and put it out there.
Oh, fair play.
You've gone up a little in my estimation there, Hogan.
There you go. You see, you were grilling me all through the show, and I just turned it around.
Curveball.
Tell you, from heel to face, just like that.
One chair shot.
There you go. See, not all bad. Listen, lads, pleasure having you on as always for the Monday mashup. Always some good topics to talk about as well as some difficult ones. Should be interesting. Massive games coming up this week. An absolute festival of football coming up this week in the Premier League. From tomorrow night all the way through nearly till Sunday, there's going to be some interesting twists and turns and positions in the league and also in results. So we will wait with bated breath to see what happens. Mark, pleasure as always. Darren,
cheers,
as always, great to have you on. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think. Give us your predictions for the Premier League matches coming up, as always. And if you want to head over to the channel, drop a subscribe, hit the bell notification. And you can also check out myself and Darren have just dropped a Premier League preview for the midweek. We'll be back later in the week where we will review the results. We'll give you a Premier League preview for the weekend. And we'll be back with Beat the Bookie. Mark will be studying the form, no doubt. Anytime scorer and the Man United bet. And me and Darren will just continue to go from worse to worse, where we just can't get it right. But we will land one. There's no doubt about it.
And don't forget as well, folks, the new recording of Darren's Unpopular Opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
Premiere next week.
Absolutely. We shall see what happens. Lads, pleasure as always. Cheers.
Cheers, lads.